Let's have a quick conversation about Fundable. And so Fundable actually is pretty good when it comes to business funding, but they have a few conditions that you need to be aware of if you want to be funded real fast through their loan program. So in today's conversation, I want to give you the pros and cons. I want to give you let's say a few important mentions about Fundable, and the whole idea is for you to be funded real fast, regardless of your FICO score, whether you have bad credit or fair credit or excellent credit or good credit. You can be funded through a Fundable. Okay, so if you think about Fundable, what is it? Let's quickly talk about that so you have a clear idea what you're really talking about. So if you think about Fundable, it's a relatively new lender, okay, because they started in 2017, so about 2 to 3 years before COVID. And the reason why I mentioned COVID is that they actually did a lot of their business, like their business had a boom during COVID because all of a sudden a lot of businesses wanted to needed to actually get a loan. So Fundable actually does a great job in terms of helping small businesses that often struggle to get loans from traditional financial institutions like banks and credit unions. So in that sense, if you think about Fundable, I want you to think about an alternative lender. So this is how I actually categorize them when I analyze them. Okay, this is an alternative lender. This is not even an online lender because they actually will fund because online lenders such as Bluevine sometimes they don't really fund quote unquote risky businesses. Okay, but Fundable will actually will definitely fund you, not a problem. So if you are a small business owner and let's say you face rejections from banks or credit unions owing to a strict lending criteria, you are able to actually go to a lender such as Fundable and actually get you funded. And the cool thing is that you have various loan programs on Fundable. Okay, you have lines of credit. You have also a very speedy funding program within 24 to 72 hours. So that's really good. And Fundable actually is based in Great Neck, New York. Okay, so and they've been around since 2017. So that tells you it's nearly 10 years they've been in business. So that's kind of cool. So if you think about Fundable, how does Fundable work? Well, with Fundable, you have all kinds of loan programs. You have business lines of credit. You have business term loans. You have equipment financing arrangements. You have bridge loans. You have invoice factoring, and you have also a SBA loan. So SBA loans. So Fundable actually is an approved SBA lender. In other words, Fundable will arrange SBA loans for you. Okay. So let's first talk about the business line of credit. So if you are interested in business line of credit through Fundable, the maximum you can get is a quarter of a million, so $250,000. And so you have a revolving window of 24 months, so maximum, and you can be funded within 24 hours, within 24 to 72 hours. So that's really good. And the interest rates is around 12 to 18%. Okay, 12 to 18%. And you can use the cash for all kinds of purposes, purchasing inventory, for instance, covering payroll, or investing in growth opportunities. What about term loans? Well, Fundable is more, I would say they're more generous when it comes to their business term loans because you can be funded up to $6 million. Okay. And terms here, you're looking at 5 months to 10 years. For equipment financing, this is something I love a lot with Fundable. You have equipment financing, so basically you can be funded actually all the way to 100% of the equipment cost. The terms 1 to 2 years. You have bridge loans. You can get up to $1 million. Terms 3 to 24 months. So that's pretty good. You also have invoice factoring, so they will actually finance your invoices up to 90% of the invoice value, and the funding speed actually is the same day. And then you have the SBA loans. Now the SBA loans they will go all the way to 10 million, but $10 million. But the funding process for SBA loans is very lengthy. I mean, you are speaking about several weeks because this is a government program. So this is a program that the government partially guarantees. So that really requires more checks and balances. I mean stricter requirements. But the cool thing is that the repayment window can go from 2 to 10 years, and the APR is relatively lower too. You could probably pay around 7% all the way to 17%, depending on your FICO score, but also depending on your business too. So if you think about Fundable, what are the qualifications for you to be funded this year through Fundable? So Fundable is pretty flexible when it comes to a FICO score, but at a minimum, that's just the baseline. I mean, there are of course exceptions, but the baseline FICO score is 500. So they will look at your application if you have a minimum FICO score of 450 to 500. So that's kind of cool. And Fundable wants you to be in business for at least 6 months. So if you are a brand new startup, you can't really qualify. Okay, you got to be at least in business for 6 months to actually generate some interest vis-a-vis Fundable. And they want you to have a monthly revenue of at least $8,000. So you are looking at, like, on an annual basis, on an annualized basis, you're looking at something close to $100,000. So they want you to generate 6 digits in revenue minimally for you to qualify. And also in terms of documentation, if it is required, Fundable will ask you for 3 months of business bank statements. So 3 months, that's kind of cool. Okay, that's kind of cool. And but so those are the four major criteria that you have to really fulfill for you to qualify. Now, of course, eligibility can vary depending on the specific lending program that you're interested in, right? So, I mean, if you, whether you're looking for a business line of credit or a bridge loan or invoice factoring, the criteria may be different. Some loan options may have stricter qualifications and require more documentation, right? So it really depends on your niche, depends on the kind of paperwork that you're showing too. So one thing I want to say also is that just remember that you want to make sure that data that you provide to Fundable is actually accurate, because they will check, and you do not want to really fudge data on a loan application. This is a federal crime, and it's not even quote unquote moral, right? You do not want to really you do not want to paint yourself in that light. So provide as accurate and updated document as possible. So how do you apply to Fundable this year? Now, if you want to apply to Fundable, I I suggest that you basically gather all the paperwork. Don't start the process and then realize, oh, I'm missing this. I'm missing this document. I don't have this document, or I just have to wait. No, just take your time and make sure that you have all the documentation before you reach out to them. And the best way to actually reach out to them is to actually call customer service. Okay, speak to the loan department before you even go online. So you can just give them a call and just tell them why are you calling, how much you're trying to borrow, what you need the money for. Tell them a little bit about your business. Okay, how long you've been in business, and also what are the prospects? What are the prospects? What's the outlook for your industry or even for your company, right? And the reason why you want to do this is that you want to really get from the loan reps some kind of info, because sometimes they can't just put all the data about their loans on the website. But if you call someone, if you call you want to have first-hand experience, first-hand knowledge about what's really happening. Okay, so call them and have a preliminary conversation. And once you do that, just go online, okay, and apply online. Okay, so they'll ask you a few things like financial records, business property information. You can also print and complete the paper application if you don't want to apply online. That's totally possible. And so basically, the process is pretty streamlined. Okay, so after signing the application, for instance, you will be required to upload any supplementary information. And so that's the first step. And if they have any question, Fundable will contact you. They'll ask you if they need more info. They'll talk to you, okay? And then the underwriting team actually reviews loan applications within 24 to 48 hours. So they review pretty fast, okay? Which is really long, which is really shorter than what you have at banks and credit unions. So 24 hours, okay? And you just get reviewed. And if you're approved, you'll receive funds. If they need extra info, they'll contact you. And once you provide that extra info, that extra paperwork, you can be funded, okay? And also, you want to make sure that you give them also your bank information real fast, because once they approve you, they start actually calculating interest right away. So whether you get the funds or not, they start actually accruing interest. So when you think about Fundable, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of this business lender this year? Okay. Now, one thing I love about Fundable is that you have the ability to actually get capital if your business is struggling. If your business went to traditional banks or traditional credit unions, and the business cannot really find funding, Fundable actually is there to serve as a stopgap institution where you can go and just get cash. Now, of course, the loan you can get through a Fundable will cost you more, right? They charge you a 30% APR or 20% APR, which is really way higher than what a bank will charge you. Okay, and so that's number one. So you also have a variety of loans. I think I told you a little earlier that you have business lines of credit, business term loans, equipment financing, bridge loans, invoice factoring, and SBA loans. Some banks or credit unions in this country, they don't offer as many credit programs as I just listed for you. Some banks will just give you only a business line of credit and business term loan, but they don't do invoice factory because they think is riskier. Okay, is riskier, so they just stay away from that niche, if you will. Also, speed. Okay, speed. Fundable is pretty fast. Okay, but also Fundable tends to be generous when it comes to loans. I think I told you like the maximum loan is 10 million. No, 6 million for equipment financing, 10 million for SBA. But even the 6 million, that's pretty good. I mean, the 10 million SBA loan, that's just regulatory. So like any institution that you go to for an SBA loan, the maximum is 10 million. Okay, so that's for the advantages of Fundable. What about the disadvantages? Well, you have the cost, right? You have very high interest rates. You also have some let's say some lack of transparency when it comes to certain products. So that's why you always want to ask the customer service rep before you actually sign anything. That way, you are pretty clear as to what you're getting yourself into. So when it comes to Fundable, I just gave you the advantages and the disadvantages. Now I want to talk about the pros and cons. Pros and cons are different from advantages and disadvantages because pros and cons actually goes like pros and cons looks at the pluses and minuses and compares them to the others in the industry. For instance, as an alternative lender, if you are comparing Fundable to let's say your traditional banks such as Truist or Chase or American Express or Capital One, you do not have the financing. You do not have the risks that Fundable is taking. For example, when it comes to invoice factoring is a pretty risky credit program for traditional banks because that means that you have to really rely not only on the credit of the borrower but also on the credit of the final customer. If the final customer doesn't pay, then that's really there's a big risk there, right? So another pro that I love about Fundable is that you are getting your cash within 24 hours. I mean, there are moments when you can get your cash even within the same day, if you provide all the documentation, which is something totally unheard of. If you were to go to a traditional bank, a bank is not going to give you the cash within 24 hours. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Okay. And also, you don't have like that large of a loan amount. Like, can you imagine, like, for instance, a business line of credit? They're giving you up to a quarter of a million, which is really great. I mean, think about it. Quarter of a million same day approval and funding, and no prepay penalties. That's really fantastic. On the flip side, one thing you would see here is that basically, when it comes to a fundable, they work with third party lenders, third party lending partners. Okay, and basically for some loans, for instance, you might actually you might realize that you have no idea of those lending partners, and those lending partners can be charging you like big, like a very very big APR of a very big cost. Okay, and so that is not really transparent at all, especially if you're relying on Fundable as your main source of funding, and they actually have a third party lender that's not really playing games. Like, that could be really problematic. Also, some lack of transparency throughout the process, not just when you apply, but also after you apply. That's why I told you a little earlier to contact the company beforehand and have a conversation. Just have a conversation beforehand before you do anything. So if you think about Fundable, okay, big question is, are they legit? Yes, they are legit. I think I told you before. They actually came in business in 2017. So it's been nearly 10 years they've been in business, okay? And this is a legitimate company. It is actually it has a triple B rating, okay? They are rated A minus, which is pretty great when if you think about the Better Business Bureau rating program. So A minus is really good, and so people love the fact that the like in their reviews, people really love the fact that they're really fast. They're really fast in terms of funding, and they're very diverse too in terms of the kinds of loans that they give to borrowers. Okay, and if you are denied by Fundable for any reason, okay, just make sure that you have possibilities to reach out to other alternative lenders. I've covered uh, I've covered several alternative lenders on this show already, so just go to another one, and you could probably just get your loan from them. One thing I want to say here is that when Fundable denies you, they have to tell you the reason why they denied you. Please see if you can maybe correct the issue before you go to another lender, because that lender may also deny you for the same reason. Okay, so that's why if there is a problem, if there is a deficiency, quote unquote deficiency, that you think that you might need to correct before you go apply to a I mean you go apply for a loan at another lender, make sure that you are in better terms. Okay, and finally, and this is the final term. There's the final point into this conversation. Make sure that you've done your research before you reach out to Fundable in terms of the specific loan that you want, but also the reason the reason why you need the loan, because they'll ask you the use of loan proceeds, and they're very careful at making sure that they are actually funding specific programs that can really help you actually boost your revenue in the future, if you will. So, in conclusion to this conversation, I spoke to you about Fundable, and I explained what Fundable is, how does Fundable work, what are the qualifications for Fundable, okay, what are the pros and cons, and whether or not the this institution is actually legit. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.